Snake chastises the guards for bullying the slaves as Thorfinn's injuries are bandaged. He apologizes to Thorfinn for his men's behavior before suddenly lunging toward him. Snake attacks Thorfinn, and he dodges, shocking everyone with his fighting prowess. Snake tells Thorfinn that by avoiding his attack his body is telling him it wants to live. This seems to surprise Thorfinn, as he can't figure out what he would possibly want to live for. The strong ones kill the weak ones. As Pater patches Thorfinn up, Einar complains about how unfair the situation is. Thorfinn shrugs it off, saying there's nothing they can do as the strong ones kill the weak ones. This upsets Einar, but Pater seems to calm him by apologizing and revealing that Arnheit notified him of what was happening. Despite being given the day off, Thorfinn and Einar return to work. Einar thinks back to the fight, noting that the way Thorfinn moved was not normal. He thinks back to what Thorfinn said earlier about the strong killing the weak and grows curious about Thorfinn's past. Einar asks Thorfinn if he has ever been to war. When Thorfinn says yes, he asks more detailed questions, like if he's killed and how many times. Thorfinn grows irritated at first, knowing how Einar feels about war. He then reveals that he does not remember how many people he has killed, as he was raised to be a warrior since childhood. Thorfinn asks Einar if knowing this disgusts him, but we do not see his answer. That night, Einar lies awake thinking back to what Thorfinn said, along with his past, when soldiers attacked his village. The more he thinks back, the angrier he grows until he reaches out to strangle Thorfinn in his sleep. Thorfinn does not wake up or retaliate. Even as Einar pulls his hands back, Thorfinn finds himself stuck in a war nightmare. Finally, Einar wakes him up, which confuses Thorfinn. Einar grows frustrated again, grabbing Thorfinn and wondering why he wishes to die so badly when things could be much worse for them. As Einar rolls over to get away from Thorfinn thanks him for always waking him up from his nightmares. The episode ends with an older Canute riding through a cemetery. This emotionally charged episode showed fans a more intense side of Einar while contrasting it against a softer side of Thorfinn. It added more layers to their characters and made the dramatic scenes more impactful. Sven, the Danish king, has managed to gain control of the entirety of England and Wales, through his ruthless military conquests that took several years. But despite his power and influence, he is cornered in front of his own man one ordinary day by Askeladd. The Viking mercenary had asked Sven to reconsider his decision to invade Wales but was instead told to choose between Canute and Wales. Things turned ugly when Sven insults Askeladd's mother and soon the mercenary turns his sword to kill the king. Before he takes Sven's life, Askeladd tells him that his name is Lucius Arturus Castus, and also proclaims to be the king of Britannia. Once he beheads Sven, Canute tells the soldier to attack Askeladd, who has committed regicide and should be cut down for it. I appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Let me know in the comments about your favorite anime. Following the incident, England is thrown into chaos. Soon afterward, Ethelred II returns from exile in Normandy and is restored to power, while Canute also proclaims to be the new king of England. The political conflict leads to a brutal war that pushes England into poverty. Canute visits the village of Mercia after it has been defeated and finds out that his men are engaged in pillage and other horrific acts. He tells Gunnar, his advisor, that all of these soldiers must be beheaded and their heads should be displayed on the streets. Canute is soon confronted by Thorkel, who tells him that he must pave his path with blood and iron, as fighting cannot be avoided if he plans to become the new king of England. Interestingly, Canute listens patiently to the man, and kind of agrees with him. Later that evening, he meets an Earl Loyal named Edric, who tries to bribe him to leave the village of Mercia and take back his man. But Canute refuses and asks him to betray King Ethelred II so that he can become the new king of England. But Edric rejects the proposal and tells Canute to his face that he would prefer fighting him to his death instead of bowing his head in front of him. After Edric refuses to support him and threatens that he will continue fighting to his bitter end, Canute tells his Jomsviking commander Floki that the man is not spineless after all. That's when Floki, with a sinister smile on his face, suggests testing his resolve. Edric is then taken outside with his son where a gigantic pyre has been prepared. Then once the work is finished, it is lit on fire following Canute's order. Edric struggles to understand what the whole ritual means. That's when his son draws his attention towards smoke coming out of different locations as far as their eyes can see. It seems to be similar to the one lit in front of them. As Edric continues to ask for an explanation, Canute reveals that it symbolizes what it means to fight him. This implies that if he still does not want to cooperate and will rather go to war with Canute, then Mercia will be reduced to ashes. Canute explains one more time that if Edric wants to avoid all the trouble and wants to safeguard Mercia's peace, then he must kill Ethelred too. Edric is haunted by the sight of smoke coming out of Mercia's land and eventually starts working for Canute secretly. The following year, in April 1016, King Ethelred II dies because of a mysterious illness. In his absence, his son Edmund becomes the new king and fights valiantly against Canute. He even successfully inflicts major damage on Canute's army and ensures that his political rivals are constantly challenged. But strangely, this does not last long, as Edmund also dies because of a mysterious illness in November 1016. While it is not explicitly mentioned, it is highly unlikely that King Ethelred II and his son Edmund both die of an inexplicable illness in 7 years. Therefore, there is a good chance that Edric may have something to do with it, since the death of the father-son duo directly benefits Canute politically. So it should come as a surprise that soon after the unnatural death of his political rivals, Canute officially became the King of England. While working on the farm, Thorfinn and Einar realize that they desperately need a horse to do their work. Unfortunately, the retainers refuse to give them despite repeated requests. While walking back to work after another failed attempt, the two of them end up arguing. Einar is not happy that Thorfinn seems uninterested in earning their freedom, while he on the other hand is desperate for it. An old man who later introduces himself as Sverkel overhears their conversation and offers to let them borrow his horse on the condition that they do some chores for him. When the two slaves eventually get the horse after toiling hard under the sun, they make great progress in their work as well. Later, one of the retainers sees the two of them with a horse and questions about it. When they explain that they got it from an old man named Sverkel, the duo learns that he is Ketil's father and one of the most important men on the farm. One day, Thorfinn and Einar have to stop their work earlier than usual because of rain. When they return to Sverkel's house, they overhear his conversation with Ketil. It turns out that Ketil is concerned about his father's health. When Thorfinn and Einar get to meet Sverkel, he asks them to wash their clothes. While looking for the washtub, the duo accidentally ends up finding the head of his farm's guards, Snake. Just when Thorfinn and Einar find Snake sleeping, the head of the farm's guard suddenly wakes up as he realizes that the meal is ready. Sverkel mocks him for eating food shamelessly after doing nothing the whole day. Snake defends himself and argues that the farm is peaceful and well protected thanks to him and his men who patrol the region at night. Interestingly, Sverkel does not buy his story and asserts that all that the head of the farm's guards does is sneak into young women's homes. Even though he knows that Ketil's father has got a point, Snake shamelessly continues to defend himself. After Thorfinn and Einar are also given something to eat, Snake starts explaining how he protects animals from getting stolen from the farm. Sverkel argues that the amount that he and his men get paid is anyway equal to what the thieves could have managed to steal, so it does not make a difference. He then reminds Snake that he is a Nordic man, who knows how to use swords and spears to defend himself and the farm. Sverkel also believes that nothing worse than a thief could ever get to the region thanks to the King Harald's influence, who is offered an absurd amount of tribute by Ketil twice a year. This ensures the farm's safety from potential invaders, so guards are of no use according to Sverkel. He then also criticizes his son's relentless pursuit to amass more wealth, since he feels that holding on to a huge swath of land that one himself can't defend is useless. According to him, affluence invites a lot of potential enemies, and someone who continues to amass more of it has to be endlessly paranoid to protect it, which is something Sverkel feels that his son doesn't understand. After spending time with Sverkel and listening closely to his discussion with Snake, Thorfinn feels that he has learned a lot. Sverkel's argument against amassing excess wealth and the evils that it attracts appears to profoundly impact Thorfinn, and he briefly gets lost in deep contemplation. Sometime later, Thorfinn and Einar together sow seeds at the farm and appear to be quite satisfied with what they have achieved through hard work. When Einar advises Thorfinn that he can spread more seeds than he had been so far, the latter momentarily seems doubtful. That's when Einar asks him to show some faith, since he is his friend. When Thorfinn reiterates the word friend, Einar is a little taken aback. He then asks Thorfinn if he considers him a friend or not. Interestingly, Thorfinn realizes for the first time that the both of them are close enough to be considered friends.